Welcome, everyone. This is our inaugural podcast. I'm Pastor Paul DeVries, and this is my friend Quin Schultze. Welcome.
Hey, great. I'm so glad to be doing this with you, Paul. I love you, brother. Great pastor, Brookside CRC. We're rocking and rolling. Let's get into the first podcast.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. Wonderful. Well, we wanted to talk a little bit about the history of the church.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm a historian. I love history, and it's interesting to learn about the church. So you got there
So we're relatively new members, but we asked for a copy of this. And if you don't have one, get a copy. We have them at the church. This is the little 50th anniversary booklet, and you can see it's got all kinds of goodies in there. Photographs, background on the church, and it says 1959 to 2009. But Paul, what's your sense of the history of Brookside?
So Brookside was formed in 1959, like so many Christian Reformed churches at the time. The denomination was growing. This area, right where the church is located, was a suburban new area.
Yeah.
My home, just a half a block back here, was built in 1961.
Ooh.
So right around the time the church was founded, we bought farmland, and this is where the building came from. Basically, it was all the CRC churches near here were bursting at the seams, so why not plant a new church in a new area?
Okay, no problem getting people from the Christian Reformed Church. It's Dutch West Michigan, going in a new suburban area, and so it starts to take off.
But here's the DNA of Brookside, which I think has made it unique. Some of our early pastors were very dedicated to evangelism. Now again, most of the evangelism was suburban, Dutch or Dutch-like folk.
Okay, stealing them from the RCA.
Well, not only there, from the Methodists, from the Episcopalians, from the Baptists. And that's one of the things that made Brookside a little unique. They were some of the first to use a program called Evangelism Explosion.
Wow.
It really characterized the church. And that was quickly followed by a pastor who was a consummate teacher, who capitalized on the evangelism aspect. But we were, for example, if you're CRC, you know about Coffee Break. We were one of the pilot churches for Coffee Break because that was an evangelism program way back when. And that's really colored Brookside and stayed with Brookside through all the ages.
Okay, that's marvelous. And say a little bit about the buildings. The current structure is not the original one.
No, the original building was just a very small, almost chapel-like building. Think about where our classroom spaces are now. That was the original building. In 1972, the existing sanctuary was put on, along with some additional fellowship space. And then in 1996, another major building program, the sanctuary was renovated. This room here, the library, the kitchen, the gym was all added. And then again in about 2006, we put on a new front entrance, office space, all the space to the south, the upper room, basement area. And so Brookside has really changed during the years.
Yeah, and it all suggests growth. It was a church of growth. And so that leads me to want to ask you, I love to go to churches that are growing, not just as a member, but to find out what they're doing. I'm a communication guy. I'm always analyzing what's going on. It's kind of a sickness, you know. And so I heard about this church Encounter down the street, and people told me it was one of the fastest growing in the CRC.
Yeah, that's right.
So I went down there. I was blown away with the number of people, but I was also blown away at the fact that I was an old fogey there, and I wish I had earplugs. Okay, whole different style.
Yeah, exactly.
But I heard then that Encounters kind of came out of Brookside. Is that true?
Not kinda, it did.
It did.
I mean, we were the mother church in every sense of the word. Dirk Van Eyck, their pastor, their lead pastor, was an intern here that I worked with, and he wanted to plant a church, and Brookside said, "We'll help you."
Okay.
Go ahead.
And then there was Millbrook Church, which closed down, and some of those members came to Brookside.
That's later.
Right? That's later.
Encounter started in 2010 with some of our members who went their direction.
Okay, great. And so there's a long history of growth. Brookside has been a vibrant part of the denomination, providing a lot of direction and leadership and stories to inspire other churches as well. But of course, things change.
Yes, it does.
And the neighborhood is not the same now.
And see, this is where we have opportunity, because evangelism and growth is in our DNA. And change is also in our DNA through the years. Everything from our building to our worship styles have morphed and changed. And I think we have a unique opportunity to build on that DNA of evangelism and growth.
Okay, we're going to get into that in future podcasts.
Yeah.
I want to end this brief one. Again, a reminder to you to pick up a copy of this book. It really is inspiring. I love things like this where a congregation looks at its history. But I also want to go to this here, Paul. This is going to be hard for some of you to see.
Yep.
I'm going to try to get it in the light here. It says, God is good all the time.
All the time.
Where is this from?
That's from the 50th anniversary. And it's actually from Pastor Norm and his daughter-in-law, Vicki Meyer, who was on staff here. This was a saying that was common in our youth group. So long before Pastor Hoon, if you know Pastor Hoon, God is good all the time.
All the time.
All the time, God is good was
Amen.
a saying around
Amen.
here, and it's
Great.
true.
Hey, thanks for launching the podcast with me, buddy.
Happy
We're
to
going
do
to
it.
have a lot of fun. We're going to inspire you. We're going to educate you about the church. We're also going to request that you give us some feedback. And so I'm going to put down below the video here, I'm going to put Pastor Paul's email, and you can fire him a note if you'd like. I'm going to put mine as well. Mine, Quin Schultze would be more in terms of topics you'd like to see us address, which we will as we keep this going. Thanks for being a member of the church. Thanks for being faithful to God. Thanks to you, Brother Paul.
Thank you.